Some Things Never Change. By My Lost and Found. Read by My Lost and Found. Chapter 3. Teachers' Lounge Conversations. Summary. It wasn't too out of the ordinary for Midoirya to spend lunch with Yagi in the staff room. What was odd was when Snipe catches the word kidnapping. Snipe sighed into his mug of coffee, setting it back on the desk. Ever since Bakugo's kidnapping, things at UA had been busier than usual. Schedules had been shuffled beyond recognition to keep up with the growing threat to their students. Snipe was currently working out the kinks in an after-school weapons training course for the first years. It wasn't technically mandatory, but there was no doubt the whole class would show up. Normally, this kind of training wouldn't be available until second year, unless a student requested to have personalized training. Aizawa, however, had insisted it be available to his class as soon as possible. It's not that Snipe disagreed with the notion. No, he wholeheartedly thought the unlucky class needed whatever they could get. He's just having trouble adding it to his already packed schedule. If he can't find time to sleep, he has no idea when they are. This whole situation was honestly giving him a headache. Why did he become a teacher? He leaned back in his chair, taking a deep breath in as he let his mind fall away from the task at hand for a moment. The sound of conversation filtered through the teacher's lounge. There was only one other teacher here at the moment. It wasn't out of the ordinary for Yagi to have lunch with Midoirya, the man having taken on a mentor role with the first year. Snipe was content to just close his eyes and relax for a moment, when he caught the tail end of Midoriya's sentence. "Kidnapping," the green-haired student said with a sigh. It was clearly a surprise when the kidnapped Bakugo Katsuki showed up at the hospital with one Midoriya Izuku, around the same time the raid was set to begin. There was barely enough time to inform the one sent to rescue Bakugo that he'd already been rescued, and to switch their focus onto capturing the League. It seemed that no one but Aizawa, Yagi, and Nezu knew what Midoriya had to do with the mysterious event, so the mention of what he presumed was this piqued his interest. It was pretty standard for a cult. Humorous was a weird cult, but this one? Think of a cult and that's what it was. Like, just wanted to sacrifice me and some other kids they kidnapped to Satan or something. Burned it down before we really got the specifics. Midoirya says, plain as day. Snipe is frozen in place. He mustn't have, but no. The massive pile of work he'd been dealing with must be affecting him worse than he thought, because there's no way he heard that right. Yagi hums in understanding. While I do agree that humorous is quite weird, even compared to the things I've seen as a pro, I feel it was misleading to phrase it like that. I'd been under the impression that it was the only cult that had kidnapped you. What the fuck? He hadn't been hearing things the first time? Or he had fallen asleep at his desk and was dreaming. He pinched himself. The sting lingered even when his hands found their way back to his mug of not-so-hot coffee. What the fuck? Should he say something? This is weird, even for UA. He looks back over to the two, caught up in their own little world. They might not have even realized he was here, his desk being one of the farthest from the door. Perhaps it was just a misunderstanding, and if he asked, the two would clear things up. He suddenly thinks with a frantic edge. Somehow, he doubts that's what's happening. The sane thing to do would just be to ignore whatever they had going on and get back to his mountain of work. But he just can't seem to tear himself away from the conversation. It's like those serial killer documentaries he'd listened to as a teen. He just couldn't stop. He had to know how this resolved. The two kept going back and forth, debating what constituted a weird kidnapping. With every word, Snipe just got more concerned for his coworker and students' well-being. Midoirya nods along with the last thing Yagi said. I can see how you think that. I've just been kidnapped by so many weird people. Those two were definitely cults. I'm not sure if the McDonald's one counts. I think they were trying to ritualistically sacrifice me, but it was for, a raise. That sounds like a cult. The thing is, I don't even think half of them believed it would work. It was more of a spur-of-the-moment thing, from what I gathered. It has been really awkward going to that McDonald's now. Midoriya buried his face in his hands with a blush. Oh, I know the feeling, Yagi chuckled. Turns out my middle school home ec teacher was involved in human trafficking. Completely different group kidnapped me, but when they wanted to sell me, he just so happened to be there. I escaped before the exchange was complete, but he couldn't look me in the eye for the last week of middle school. That must have been awkward. Most certainly was, my boy. Snipe opens the bottom drawer of his desk, reaches his hand in without looking, fingers wrapping around a silver flask, and dumps the entire contents into his coffee mug. What the fuck is going on with those two? I've got a little bit from the notes here. Izuku. Hey, want to share kidnapping stories? Yagi. My boy, Snipe is in the room. Izuku. Exactly. The secret is already out. Might as well have some fun with it before everyone knows. So yeah, last little bit there, but yes. They're just pranking people. This was originally going to be in like a different, I guess, work for this series, but I felt like it fit here better. You know, just Yagi and Midoriya talking about kidnappings while Snipe is over there in the corner having an existential crisis about what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I love it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Poor Snipe.